Welcome back, everyone, to the Sacred Trial, the pro qualifier to the True Silver Championship, sponsored by Game. I am Raven, and joining me is Lorinda, of course. So we have the next game coming up, which is going to be Dog versus XixO.
Yeah, the big names just keep on coming and coming in this tournament. We're down to everybody who wins now gets through to the main event, and XixO and Dog are just two of the absolute best players out there, two of the best streamers, and two of the most well-liked, I believe, as well.
Yeah, and this matchup is going to be where the winner will go through and join Chucky that we just saw in the last game into the 7 spots available in this pro qualifier, and the loser will go on to face Eloise in the final game of the day, where the winner will go and join the other 2 guys with these spots, and then the loser will actually not go at all and not be able to go to the True Silver Championship in terms of the top 8 spots, but could still attend and play in the Swiss over the weekend to be able to qualify to join the other 8 people from the Swiss, and then to create that 16-man in total. So still definitely a chance for these guys to turn up to the event regardless of what has gone on. But the decks for these guys are going to be Warrior, Rogue, Warlock, and Shaman for Dog, and XixO has Shaman, Warrior, Druid, Warlock, with Dog's Warrior band out and XixO's Shaman band out. So we're going to the first game of Dog versus XixO, Shaman versus Yogg Druid.
Shaman versus Yogg Druid. So I think this game is pretty close. Dog, not Yogg, is going to need to draw something to power these tunnel trogs, but that's what the deck does. He'll be pretty happy with his hand. And XixO has just drawn all of his ramp, so he'll be happy too. So it'll be interesting to see how this pans out.
Yeah, pretty good opening so far from Dog to some extent with the 2 tunnel trogs. Definitely the big powerful 1-drops you're after in this deck. Whereas XixO has the options of ramp with this wild growth that we're going to see with the coin, and also the innovate. So in this matchup, and in any really sort of aggressive matchup, you really want the innovate out in terms of ramp to be able to just get that instant burst of power and drop something big onto the board, or at least impactful, to be able to slow down the Shaman from Dog here, as he does come up with a pretty swift opening himself, getting that abusive sergeant and already starting to stack up the pressure.
Yeah, and this lava burst, if he wants it to power up those trogs, could be a huge turn next turn as one of his options. This is one of the reasons that Druid is kind of 50-50 against a lot of decks, if you take that as a very loose meaning, is that that's about the odds of getting your innovate in the first couple of turns, along with wild growth. So those cards make such a big difference to the matchup that if you do get innovate in a Druid deck, oddly enough, having 2 extra mana early on in a game of Hearthstone makes a big difference.
Yeah, 100%, especially when you need it to be able to catch up with a aggressive opening like this from Dog. As we see, speaking of aggression, there's a lava burst to face, doing 5 from the spell, an additional +2 for each trog. So that is a lot of damage, and XixO already on 15 on Dog's turn 3.
Yeah, and that's going to obviously, without any shadow of doubt, put a lot of pressure on. He'll be looking at this innovate into Ancient of War and thinking, that's a bit slow next turn. What do I do about this mess?
Yeah, this I think is actually a bit brave from XixO. I suppose there isn't too much that Dog can really play with 2 mana that ends the game now, but he did have the option of the Fell Rage just to gain some more health, but he obviously decided that putting some minions on the board to actually try and slow these trogs down was the players. He could have gained 8, but then he would have took at least 6 back from the trogs this turn anyway.
Yeah, and this is a decision that Dog is going to have to make, and it's going to be based on which outs he has left for the future. He probably knows that this Rockbiter is not got a better chance than right now to go to face, and if he does, that means Lava Burst is lethal next turn and the turn after, and also the turn after that, because he'll be expecting XixO to tap out next turn for something big, one way or another.
Yeah, we do actually see the Rockbiter used to clear off the Might Keeper there, just to try and guard the 2 tunnel trogs, because even though they are only 3 health minions, if any more overload cards come out, then they're going to be able to actually just deal with the taunts that come down to a large extent.
Yeah, and this is one of the advantages when you play a lot of Hearthstone with a certain class. Dog, known for his Druid originally, he's known for everything now, especially Rogue, which is a class he seems to have discovered for today that he's playing that no one else seems to know about. Is that you know exactly, or you get a much better feel for what's in your opponent's hand a lot of the time, and he played that last turn with a lot of feel for the potential of an Ancient War putting him in trouble.
Yeah, the Fandral draw was huge there, as you get the double benefit of I nearly said Feral Spirit then as it flashed up across my screen.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's just a huge gain 8 armor and be able to effectively remove a minion is massive. But the Feral Spirit coming down, buffing the Trog, puts XixO all the way back down to 7.
Yeah, and just damage after damage. Obviously, that's what the Shaman deck is built to do, and it is doing it. But XixO finding a way to keep things just about under control for the time being.
Yeah, when we see just the power of Fandral, living roots there to remove the 2 health and generate 2 1/1s to continue battling for the board and try and just reduce Dog's presence down here. As now Dog is pretty heavily with these minions just relying on drawing spells actually at this point to finish the game, as you know, XixO's always going to be ahead of the board at this point onwards as this Ancient of War comes down. As a casual 10-10 taunt, although the actual 10 damage isn't really the main thing to look at here, it's really the 10 health and the taunt being the big deal.
Right, although it does speed up the clock by 1 turn, so it's kind of relevant, but like you say, it's not really the bit you're looking at. It's just a huge guy that your opponent can't get through.
Yeah, the extra attack actually just helps give Dog less turns to actually draw some more spells, but 7 is kind of awkward to do for Dog. If it was 6, then, you know, Spell Power Lava Burst does the trick, but with 7, that requires actually multiple spells
I think
to
this
go
is
to
lethal,
face
by the
there.
way. Oh, no, he hasn't got 9 mana. I can't count to 9. It's fine.
It happens. But yeah, we were saying that, like, or at least I was saying that the attack is actually not hyper relevant in terms of XixO's position when he played it. But now, obviously, the potential attack on the Ancient of War allows XixO to just threaten Dog within 2 turns.
Yeah, and obviously what I was referring to there is the scenarios will get the +2/+2 on all the minions and make a bunch of taunt things itself because of the Fandral. And so next turn, on top of all the other things going on, that adds a certain inevitability. And Dog's just making the world's biggest Finley. That bug's still funny no matter how many times you see it.
Yeah,
and that'll be 1-0 to XixO.
Yeah, really quick swing around there as Dog went hyper aggressive with his opening, but we just see the power of Fandral as well, because if Fandral hadn't have come down, it would have been almost any other minion. Then the XixO would have had to have chosen between the armor and the ability to remove a minion with that card. And removing the minion would have done even more damage, and obviously the armor, he still would have started to take damage from that minion that's left on the board. So really huge impact there, and it just kind of snowballed out of control from that point onwards. But these guys not messing about as we go straight into game 2, and Dog locks in his Rogue, his signature class, to go against XixO's Yacht.
New class. New class in Hearthstone is Rogue. Dog, obviously, these days is known for his Rogue play. And he has brought this Miracle Rogue deck with no particular surprises in it. I think it's a fairly standard-looking build.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything too crazy in the list we saw from Dog yesterday. And these guys are playing the same list from yesterday as well, except the main difference being that yesterday their opponents didn't know their deck lists, whereas today all the deck lists are public for the players, so they'll be fully aware of what's available and what is not.
Yep, so Dog feels that this matchup is going to be favoured. Obviously, Rogue players, it's a meme, but I'm pretty sure it's a meme that has foundation in fact that Rogue players always think they're favoured against everything. But in this matchup, I suspect he's right. Sap is a pretty good card against 7 mana minions.
Yeah, we do see the 2 Mind Keepers coming down though, so one used to ramp and one used to generate a 2/2 token. So XixO both ramping and going pretty wide on the board, and still has options going forward with that Azure Drake, the Violet Teacher, and the Feral Rage.
Right, Dog has so many options here. He can choose to make loads of tokens with his Violet Teacher and run the risk of a swipe. He can choose to do not much and just eat some damage for a turn or 2. He has the SI7 agent, he can cycle Fan. He has lots of choices, and none of them look particularly great right now.
Yeah, I mean, he can potentially coin into the Violet Teacher, then prep Fan. It does cycle. It doesn't particularly kill off any of the minions, but it creates a lot of tokens to try and clean the board up in the following turn. But the fear of that is if there's a swipe, then you're feeling pretty bad as that Violet Teacher gets cleared up pretty hard. So Dog holding off there, just going for the hero power and really just starting to stack up the cards for the following turns.
Yeah, and XixO's playing this game in the style of who's the rogue now. He's just putting big, sort of valuable mid-range minions on the board and just going for it in the way that the rogue normally does in terms of getting the board. And it's all about if Dog can get this board under control. He seems just about be getting there, but XixO's got a lot of damage.
Yeah, Dog decided to take a rough turn the previous turn to lock in the dagger, do a point of damage, and set up a much better fan of knives this turn. But, as we said, XixO's already looking pretty okay on the board. Now has a swipe as well. So it has multiple options. Can just swipe hero power down, the Violet Teacher, and then push for 7.
Can he double feral?
Oh, hang on, he can double... No, that's not going to be enough, right? I mean,
no,
he can
swipe
do
for
it,
next
but he sets
turn.
up, Yeah, he's just going to do the damage. Rogue, not known for the abundance of healing, with maybe a Farseer in the list or so. But yeah, XixO's just saying, you probably can't OTK me from 31, and I can definitely kill you next turn.
And that just looks like it. There's no taunt, there's no heal. And that's just going to be a somewhat stunning win, I think. The reason I'm pausing is because I'm just double checking everything, but that's just over because the Druid went completely crazy.
Yeah, this Yogg Druid is a very strange deck, guys. Like, it can do so many weird things. Sometimes games go like this, where it gets a bit out of control. Sometimes the games go really, really late, where you require, you're sort of leaning on Yogg to sort of pull a game back or take the win. And then other games, you just build up tons of tokens and, Power of the Wild with Fandral. There's so many options with this deck. It's almost like leans towards like the like Handlock and Reno Lock variants where you have so many weird interactions with the list. The games turn out very differently every single time. And XixO taking a quick 2-0 lead over Dog as we go into what is potentially the last game if XixO can 3-0, and it is going to be against Dog's Reno Warlock.
Yeah, something XixO did well in that last game was identifying quickly how he wins the game. I think a lot of people would instinctively think, I'm playing a Druid deck, I need to play my Mire Keepers for ramp and beat down the rogue, maybe risk a run of a sap once and beat them down with a couple of big guys later. But he identified quickly, hey, if I go wide here, Dog probably just can't deal with it in time. And that's exactly what he did. And won it really, really easily against a hand that was far from bad from rogue.
Yeah, it's kind of a rough one for Dog there to try and snap back from, but he does have his Reno Lock to try and go 3-0 versus XixO as this is last hero standing. But XixO off to a pretty good start himself again with Violet Teacher coming out pretty early, and obviously the Druid with the halo of nature energy around the portrait there. A bug we're coming starting becoming just expectant to see in most Druid games, as this has happened fairly often. I kind of like the effect, but sometimes it just straight up covers the health total, which is kind of rough.
I feel that Blizzard need to make a card that actually does that deliberately in the next set. I think it'd be a wasted opportunity if they don't. Something they urgently need to do. This Reno deck has some interesting cards in it. It has a Chillmore instead of the Tauren, so a slightly bigger taunt for your N'Zoth later on. And it also has a Youthful Brewmaster, which obviously has multiple uses. Bounce back your Reno, bounce back anything, obviously, but bounce back things that are going to do more damage and give you a lot more options. The downside is it's a pretty mediocre card if you're behind.
Yeah, and we also see the Blackwing Corruptor there being played now from Dog. Doesn't get his battle cry off, but hints at even more dragons in the deck as well. As Blackwing Corruptor, if you could say Blackwing Corruptor in any deck, goes off even 50% of the time, the card's actually pretty good. So even in a Reno deck, Dog has decided that this card is valuable enough to make it work. So we see the Wrath come down now to help XixO clear up this board, and with 2 Violet Teachers down, this is going to be... He's going to go very wide very quickly, but there is a Shadow Flame in hand for Dog. He just needs the big minion to be able to wipe this board out.
Right, it's going to take him 2 turns to get it to stick, though, unless XixO makes some comedy mistake. So he's going to need a minion now to put down. It's going to need to survive as well. And
Power Overwhelming would have actually been an out there.
Yes, yeah.
That was the only card he could have drawn into to be able to do a huge clear. But now, I mean, this is just rough.
Rough.
Yeah, rough against Dog. That's not normally the way it goes. And normally, the dogs don't normally go against the master, but this is kind of a tough position. These games have gone extremely quickly, and Dog has the choice between a Shadow Bolt versus a Farseer, basically, but either or doesn't really get too much work done. Shadow Bolt's going to take down, or at least help take down, one of the Violet Teachers, and then the Earthen Ring is going to just be able to push himself back up to 15 after that life tap, so that's going to be the play Dog goes for, and just trying to build up for the next turn.
Yeah, that life tap gives him 2 chances to draw his Reno. And I think he's probably realised that's one of his very few outs here. And he can't tap next turn into the Reno. That's why he was thinking so long. You think, what are my outs? How do I get them? And do I want them next turn? You want Reno next turn. That's one of your very few survives. So if you tap this turn, it looks crazy because you put yourself on such a low total. But if you're just playing for that 1 card, you get 2 goes at it. And I believe that's probably why he tapped there.
Yeah, so Dog's going to be under pressure. He needs Reno. There's a Fairy Dragon, and again, just another interesting card out of Dog's Reno variant. But is there even a way for him to survive here? He does have Siphon Soul for the Azure Drake, and he can kill off one of the Violet Teachers with the minions he has on board. It does leave him with very little in the form of a single 1/1 Imp, and then 4 power, 5 with the hero power available on the board at the time. So Dog does survive.
Yeah, he survives, but Druids are good at doing 4 damage, and that's about what he's going to need to do here. So, well, it's going to actually be able to do a little bit more. It's going to be 7, isn't it? So
yeah, he'll push himself out of that the dreaded
time.
4 with the Siphon Soul. He's going to clear up. That was probably the best play. Anything else just feels a lot more, even more dangerous than that play. It was the best of a bad situation for Dog. As XixO draws into the mulch by looks things, so nothing too impactful this turn, but he could just slam Ancient of War. But the worrying thing for XixO now is every single turn he can't quite finish off Dog could be the turn he draws Reno.
Right, and with that in mind, his decision making will be not only how can I set up the quickest available lethal, but how do I survive if I don't finish him?
Do you uproot? He does! Yes!
XixO
okay.
uproots.
So you've just seen the Siphon Soul, and by taking out the minion, you even help play around Shadow Bolt, but Dog answers with a Mortal Coil, so wow. I mean, I loved the play from XixO there, identifying that, as you said, if Reno comes down, he needs to plan for it, but he did not plan for Shadow Bolt Mortal Coil, which is kind of nuts. But never mind, as I think that is actually just the game with the Savage Roar and the hero power from XixO. So although that was an incredible turn and response from Dog, it was not enough of XixO. 3 O's Dog in a very fast fashion with this Yogg Druid.
Yeah, Yogg Druid really making a splash at the moment, and just gone through 3 very different decks there with Shaman, Rogue, and Reno. They're not similar decks in any way or form. They're about as different as you can get in a Hearthstone match. So Yogg Druid showing its versatility there, and XixO showing his understanding of the deck, where he chose to just go wide against the Rogue. He could have just ramped up and had a fairly solid looking game, but showing exactly knowing how to play it. Even with the uproot there, he took his chance. He was unfortunate it didn't cost him the end, but he was unfortunate that it cost him possibly a turn if things had gone slightly differently. But he knew that was the right play to put the pressure on the Reno. Very good play there from XixO. Dog's going to have to take his chance against Eloise in the final match.
Yeah, so XixO is going to join the rest of the players in a guaranteed top 8 spot, or at least to join to the top 16. As we can see now, as the edit is still on the screen, XixO does win and join Chaki as the 2 players from today that have then gone on to join Gara, Firebat, Naaman, Ostkaka. And now the last game, the 2 losers of these semi-finals are going to be Eloise and Dog. The winner takes that final spot at the bottom of the list of qualified players there, and the loser does not get the invitation into the Insomnia True Silver Championship. But we're just going to go to a quick break while we prepare the players for the next game, so don't go anywhere. This is the Sacred Trial, sponsored by Game. We'll be back soon.
Base heads locally approach all spark plugs. Total disregard.